Okay, so welcome to the Nerd in Motion channel. I quite like doing these talking head videos, so yeah, I'm doing another one. So I watched a video that Geoff buys cars does. I've watched him for quite a while, and I watched him when my channel was called Lord's Brewing Company. I'll put a link in the description to Geoff buys cars. Geoff's quite a outspoken chap, and he talks a lot about EVs and the sort of push that there is in the market for EVs, despite us not having the infrastructure for EVs. And one of the questions he asked was about the second-hand EV market, and something came on my radar just literally earlier this week, and they're a good friend of mine, so I feel like that I should really report this back, and I've spoken to them and asked, is it okay if I talk about it? Obviously I can't put their name in. They've offered to give the vehicle to me to have a look at, providing I take the number plates off, so we can have a look at that. So the car that Geoff was talking about was the MG ZS, and the one specifically in Australia, and the fact that they've heavily discounted it. Now, what's really interesting about this is this car belongs to my friend, but it's actually a lease vehicle, and he had an electric car before that was a completely different, more mainstream manufacturer, and that car had a few glitches, but nothing that bad, nothing that couldn't be sorted. And he wanted another EV. He's got another car, so that's a petrol one, so he doesn't, they don't use the EV for long journeys and things like that. They use the other car. The reason they bought the EV was it made a lot of sense for them personally, and I think if it does make sense for you, and you've got local charging point or whatever, then great. And he definitely doesn't jump on the bandwagon of that it's like better for the environment or anything like that. It was just, for him, it worked. So his last lease vehicle went back, and I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, and if you have, please put it in the comments. If you have a lease vehicle, you've got to give it back in a certain condition, and there's always things that they try and get you on for wear and tear. And it's difficult. The wear and tear thing is difficult, because some things are down to build quality, some things are, I mean, I remember I worked at a main dealer, and somebody brought a Motability car in. It was a Golf Mark IV estate, and they clearly been using it as a builder's van to do like painting and decorating or plastering or something like that. It was wrecked inside. I mean, like everything. And on a Motability check, you have to like go through and do all the quality and what's wrong with it. And I did it, and I wrote everything down, and the customer absolutely ballistic. But I don't think that was fair use of that vehicle, given the circumstances. And I think you've got to remember that with a lease vehicle, if it's for work and it's a business lease, then there's got to be a sort of understanding that it's going to get used more. Anyway, we digress. I want to tell you about this car. They've had this MG since June, and on the first literally the first time he sat in the car with the person from MG, the passenger front door wouldn't open from the inside. That was the first thing, which actually, if you're on a PDI, you shouldn't do that. Shouldn't have let that go out. So if you're a mechanic, I used to be a mechanic, and you're doing pre-delivery inspections, you should have checked that. So unless it was okay, and then in the time between the pre-delivery inspection and then the customer receiving the car, it broke, I mean, it's possible. So it's got a steering column that creaks and groans, and when you turn it, it sounds like it's grinding. Something's touching metal to metal, and it doesn't sound very good. And it creaks and makes horrible noises. That to me seems like a fairly big one. The rear passenger door now doesn't want to open from the inside, which is, it doesn't sound like a lot, but those are MOT fails as well. So if you took that brand new car in, that's an MOT failure. That car would not pass. And I was an MOT tester as well. So, you know, that I can talk with authority on this. Get this, so the quality side of it is always the question mark. You know, what's the quality of the vehicle? The driver's footwell, the carpet has completely worn out. The car never came with any car mats, and since June there are now holes in the floor mat. And I said, well, have you or your missus been driving it with high heels? To which she was not impressed. But hey, if that's your thing. And no, they've been wearing trainers in the car. So just wearing trainers, they've managed to wear the carpet out, which is not great. And then the parcel shelf. So the parcel shelf, the clips that hold the parcel shelf have broken off. And the reason they're broken off is because when you try to unclip them to take the parcel shelf out, they're so like rigid and hard that trying to unclip them, they end up pulling off the parcel shelf. And then the string bit, the other end of it, has also snapped. Which, I mean, I don't know. I remember years ago, yeah, the summer, what model was it now? I can't remember the model, but it had like it had a retractable thing that was underneath the parcel shelf, so it clipped in on the boot lid, but the parcel shelf was on like the sort of, it had like reels that reeled in and out, and what would happen is it would come unstuck and flip over. But yeah, I've never seen them like that. It just gets better. So the back seats, when you put them down to go, like take something to the tip, or you know, maybe you want to, I don't know, move something about, like you're going to go and pick up a washing machine or a tumble dryer or something, put the seats down, and the car then thinks people are sat in the back, and then just goes absolutely mental all the time you're driving it to tell you to put your rear seat belts on. I mean, that's just like bad design. He said this is a slightly worrying thing. The radar, the anti-collision system, is overly sensitive. So what's happening is it's driving along and it's beeping like crazy. Like it sees a parked car, starts beeping, and a couple of times he said it's just stopped dead. And he said, I'm not even near a car, there's nobody by the side of the road or anything like that. And what he was saying is, basically, the system itself isn't a bad thing, but it's really badly calibrated. And some of the stuff is really badly designed, as well as, you know, general quality issues. And then he said also one of the other things, which I've seen this in other cars, but not this bad. The infotainment system, you press it and nothing happens, and then something might happen, or you press it and nothing happens at all, or you press it and it works. But what happens is you press it, nothing happens, and then you look to see if you pressed it again. It's actually distracting you because it's just so laggy. It's so laggy. And years ago, I used to bring in some electronics from China that were copies of other electronic items. And one of the things I used to see was the fact that it was almost, the circuit board would generally be a bit thinner, but they would use certain electronic components that were like inferior. They'll do the job, but they're not like as good, there's no redundancy in it as the other component. So I used to get the boards reworked, but the issue I think is that the tech that they're putting into these cars, obviously it's on a budget. I don't I would love to take some circuit boards out and actually have a look at them and analyse the quality of the chips and whatever else is in there. And it's this is just since June, so these are the problems just since June. Now, he said that there are a couple of plus things. It is a good size, it doesn't look that bad, and when it comes to the actual EV part of it, the range, what it says is normally what it does. So on his previous car, which was a main brand EV, that was never the case. You could never fully trust it, and he said it used to go mental on the motorway and it just couldn't work out. So they've got that bit correct, but because it's on a lease, this is where the worry is. An EV, or whenever you lease a car, you expect it to last to the end of the lease. And he's so concerned because of the quality of it and what's happening to it, and the fact like the carpet's got a hole in it already and just bits are not working. Indicators, oh, that was the other thing, the indicator doesn't flash when you lock it on one light at the front. Just doesn't work. There's all sorts of weird stuff like that. It feels like that when it goes back off lease, it's going to be a bag of bolts, and they'll be looking at the lease company and go, well, it's not our fault. And MG, I don't know what they're going to say. I mean, it also, like, one of the reasons for, especially with a business or in general, people might be getting lease cars on a private lease so that they can use it as a company vehicle to get some mileage money back and try and save something. But if your vehicle is constantly having to go to the dealer for things like not being able to open the door, or the indicator not working, and it hasn't failed during turning left or right, well, not that we know of, then, you know, there's no benefit to it, because you've then got to get another car, you're swapping around, you're waiting at the dealer. You know, I will say, so the van I'm sat in now was a lease vehicle. It's been fantastic. I have had 2 things that have needed to be done under warranty in all the time I've had it, and this is Vauxhall Vivaro, which is a Renault Traffic. I've had 2 things. Admittedly, I look after it, but yeah, it's you know, you need your vehicle on the road. So this goes into that second-hand EV market. If these cars, these MGs, are that badly built and they're that lower quality, then what's going to happen to that EV market with those vehicles? Is that going to pull all of it down, or are they just going to be worth nothing? I mean, I don't know. It's definitely going to affect the market. Certainly will affect that brand. I don't know. But it's not a good look for the EV market, I guess. In it, you know, it certainly would make me think twice about leasing an MG. I mean, he overheard somebody else having a conversation with one of our friends about it. He's like, whatever you do, don't get an MG. So, and his previous car, he's like, no, I really like that, it was all right. Apart from, obviously, the motorway anxiety of not, what do you call it, range anxiety. So yeah, so I just wanted to sort of tell you what these cars are actually like. And I've noticed a couple of little things. Geoff was talking about how aggressive that the sales tactics are of selling these vehicles. Now, I can't talk about that because I haven't bought one, so I don't know. But what I can tell you is, when the MG first came out, there was a video that someone did about how rusty the cars were underneath, and that there was no rust proofing. Now, when you see that grey colour underneath, that is actually a zinc based paint, which is rust proof to a point. And seeing cars rusty underneath like that isn't that much of a surprise. Back in the day, when I was an apprentice, I was an apprentice with Jeep. My friend was an apprentice at Land Rover. And the Land Rovers, some of them had holes in them. They were that rusty, brand new, with a hole where it just rotted out. And that happened. That was a real thing. So this is not an unusual thing. But the other side to it is when you're buying those cars from MG, they're coming from China. They're not built in the UK. So they're going to sit on a container ship or some sort of ship that moves cars around, and they're probably there's going to be a bit of salt in the atmosphere. Doesn't mean that it's going to wreck them, but you are going to get surface rust underneath. The more sort of concerning is I would like to see one that's like 3-year-old, put it on a ramp and see the condition, and especially with our roads that are gritted and salted here, that's what I really want to see. But sorry, I've kind of digressed a little bit. One of the points was I made a comment on this video and I got absolutely jumped on. I got called names. I was told that I was anti-Chinese. I was told that I didn't know what I was talking about. And what was the other thing I got told? There was something else that was an absolute belter. Oh, that was it. That I was upper class. And it's because I was used to luxury vehicles. The man driving a Vauxhall Vivaro van and has a Citroen. Okay then. So there are people there that are like staunch supporters, and there are a lot of these people that are having a go at me with Chinese accounts. And when you go and look at anything to do with MGs, there's so much stuff on there, and I think that this is part, and I'm probably going to have to put my tinfoil hat on, but I think what they're doing is they're flooding YouTube with stuff about their cars, and in the videos where people are criticizing, they seem to be flooding the comments. But we, you know, maybe I just had a bad experience, but it puts me off buying. I certainly wouldn't be buying one. I want to know your thoughts. Go and check out Geoff's channel. He's a really cool guy. He likes Volvos, so he's good with me. And he's just a top chap. He goes through all the latest stuff, the news and things like that. And there's a really good video by JM Cars about the just the market in general, but Porsche. He's looking at Porsche and about how they operate and how the market has moved. Obviously, I don't want to spoil it, but the market has changed a lot because of COVID, because of chips not being available, all that kind of stuff. There's been a lot going on. So the market's coming back down. We've always had quite a good second-hand car market in the UK where it's been quite reasonable, and there's always wiggle room for people to make money. So go and watch that video as well. I'll put a link to that. It's really interesting if you're interested in that kind of stuff like I am. Anyway, I've rambled on for nearly 20 minutes. You will get, if you like and subscribe, I'm doing a special bonus. If you like and subscribe, you get 1,000 points, love points. That's what they're called. They're called love points. And you can redeem them if you ever meet me in person, and I'll give you a hug. There you go. That's a great special offer, because I've got no merch, I've got no product, and I've only just turned this channel into Nerd Emotions. So it's not a lot I can offer, but that's all I can offer: love and happiness. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please in the comments put what you think, and maybe I want to hear if you've got an MG ZS. Has it been good for you? Is this just a lemon car? Who knows? And if you guys want me to get the car and see all the stuff, then let me know. It's going back to the dealer on Monday, with the hope of the car being returned and he being released from the lease. If not, some sort of agreement saying if this car falls to a bag of bolts, then I'm not going to be in trouble with the lease company. So we could keep you updated on that. I think it's highly unlikely that they're going to let him return the car, because they don't want another old MG on the pitch, do they? So there you go. Anyway, no more talking. Love you all. Have a great week. Au revoir, mon petit lapin.